Right now, your Steam library feels completely safe. You've spent years building it, buying games during seasonal sales, and trusting that your collection will follow you every time you upgrade your graphics card or buy a new laptop. But beneath the surface, your entire digital life is actually being held hostage. Every single game you own is bound by invisible chains to a single aging piece of technology, the x86 processor architecture. For over 30 years, the entire PC gaming world has operated under an absolute monopoly run by Intel and AMD. If a game wants to run on a PC, it is written in x86. Meanwhile, the rest of the world moved on. Your phone, your tablet, and your smart devices all run on ARM silicon, a completely different architectural blueprint designed from the ground up to be ultra efficient, lightning fast, and run cool to the touch. For years, traditional tech companies told us that ARM gaming was a gimmick, that mobile chips could never handle the raw, brute force demands of AAA PC games. But they were wrong. As we cross through 2026, a massive shift is happening right under our noses. NVIDIA has recently dropped a hardware bombshell that threatens to break the x86 empire completely. At the exact same time, Valve has spent nearly a decade quietly building a secret software weapon designed to liberate your games from legacy silicon forever. The era of the x86 monopoly is ending. A parallel gaming ecosystem is officially here, and it is going to fundamentally change how every single one of us plays games over the next decade. To understand why this is a massive win for gamers, we need to look at how these processors actually handle data. A processor architecture is the physical layout of the silicon chip, the built-in hardware blueprint that determines how a CPU executes instructions. For over 30 years, PC gaming has relied entirely on the x86 architecture used by Intel and AMD. The x86 design focuses on handling heavy, highly complex instructions directly in the hardware. This design delivers massive raw processing performance, but it requires a huge amount of electricity, creates intense heat, and demands the heavy power supplies and loud cooling fans we see in modern gaming desktops. ARM architecture approaches processing completely differently. Instead of executing large, complex instructions, an ARM chip breaks computing tasks down into much smaller, simpler commands. Because the hardware processes these simple commands ultra fast, the chip uses a fraction of the electricity and generates very little heat in comparison. This exact efficiency is the reason your smartphone can render 3D games right in your hand without draining its entire battery in 20 minutes. This difference created a massive roadblock for portable gaming. Gamers want the incredible battery life and cool temperatures of ARM chips, but virtually every PC game on Steam is compiled specifically to run on x86 hardware layouts. When you try to run an x86 game binary on an ARM processor, the chip physically lacks the hardware wiring to read or execute those specific commands. Microsoft tried to solve this barrier years ago by building software translation layers directly into Windows on ARM. This software took the x86 game code and converted it into ARM instructions in real time as the game was running. This background translation process created a massive performance penalty. This caused severe micro stutters, cut frame rates in half, and caused deep compatibility conflicts that made kernel-level anti-cheat software block games from launching entirely. So over time, gamers walked away from ARM because this software bridge introduced too many compromises. But while the general public moved on, NVIDIA and Valve quietly began developing a completely new hardware and software strategy to eliminate this performance tax permanently. Enters NVIDIA. Over the last 2 years, NVIDIA has achieved absolute dominance in the data center world by pairing high-performance ARM processors with their world-class graphics chips. They officially announced their plan to bring that exact same architecture directly to your desk. This platform is called NVIDIA Spark, and it is a massive architectural paradigm shift. NVIDIA Spark completely abandons the traditional motherboard layout where you buy an Intel or AMD CPU, plug it into a slot, and then install a separate graphics card down below. Instead, NVIDIA built the GB10 Grace Blackwell superchip. This is a single highly integrated silicon package that houses both an advanced advanced ARM processor and a full-scale Blackwell architecture graphics processor on the exact same board. Looking closely at the specs, the absolute killer feature is the 128 gigabytes of unified coherent memory. In a traditional x86 gaming PC, your system has two separate pools of memory. This constant back and forth travel creates a performance bottleneck, especially when a software translation layer is already working hard to translate the game's code. The GB10 superchip destroys this bottleneck completely because the 20-core ARM CPU and the massive Blackwell GPU share the exact same 128 gigabytes of memory simultaneously. NVIDIA has laid out a multi-generation roadmap showing that this is their permanent future, and ARM isn't something they're just testing and then going to give up on. Jensen confirmed that the current Blackwell Spark will be followed by the Vera Rubin Spark platform in 2027, featuring a massively upgraded custom Vera CPU with massive core counts, followed by the Rosa Feynman Spark platform down the line. NVIDIA is launching this hardware across two entirely distinct software ecosystems. The consumer variant, the RTX Spark, which you may have heard of from its recent announcement, is landing in premium laptops and devices later this year. These consumer machines run Microsoft Windows, meaning they rely entirely on Windows' built-in Prism translation layer and native developer ports to run your games. But NVIDIA also has a specialized developer and power user track called the DGX Spark, a compact personal workstation that runs Linux, which many who have tried using this device to game are using Valve's tools. And it is this Linux-based hardware platform that bridges directly into Valve's secret software weapon. While the consumer market prepares for Windows-based RTX laptops, Valve has spent years focusing entirely on the open-source Linux front. For nearly a decade, Valve has been working closely with open-source developers on a tool called FEX-Emu, or simply FEX. FEX is a highly advanced, ultra-fast, real-time translator built specifically for Linux environments. Its sole purpose is to take x86 game code and translate it into native ARM64 instructions instantly, without the game developer ever having to modify a single line of code. Valve's master stroke was taking FEX and putting it directly into Proton, which allowed ARM devices to start playing games that previously weren't possible. Recently, they released version 2605 with a bunch of performance improvements. One of the key areas they worked on involves split locks, situations where older x86 games perform certain memory operations that cause big slowdowns and micro stutters on ARM hardware. While FEX still can't perfectly solve every case, the new release benefits from hardware improvements on platforms like the Snapdragon X2 Elite. These changes help reduce the frequency of those performance penalties, allowing translated games to run noticeably smoother with more consistent frame times. The real-world proof is already out there. Developers and open-source enthusiasts are already using Linux-based DGX Spark workstations right now as high-end testbeds. They are booting up native Linux ARM environments, launching Steam, and playing massive AAA games seamlessly. And Valve is ready to deploy this technology in the wild. Their upcoming Steam Frame VR headset is powered by an ARM-based Snapdragon processor running SteamOS and utilizing this exact FEX translation stack to bring PC-quality virtual reality to a standalone, lightweight headset. Valve's multi-year investment in software translation has finally met NVIDIA's massive breakthrough in ARM hardware, and if you are waiting for more news on the Steam Machine or Steam Frame, expect a big announcement next week, and you should be expecting the reservations to start soon. On the Windows side, Microsoft and NVIDIA are attacking the problem by convincing game studios to build native ARM versions of their games, which is great but adds a lot more work for these developers. They're also updating Windows on ARM with their own translator called Prism, and working directly with major developers to bring native anti-cheat support to titles like Fortnite and Valorant. But look at what Valve is doing on the Linux side. Valve is expanding SteamOS to be completely hardware agnostic. Recent updates have added deeper native support for Intel chips alongside their existing AMD integration, while their continuous funding of FEX ensures that ARM systems are fully supported. Valve is orchestrating a permanent divorce between your game library and the physical hardware inside your computer. By building a flawless translation stack using FEX, Proton, and even Lepton in some cases, Valve has future-proofed the entire Steam ecosystem. They are creating a world where it doesn't matter who wins the upcoming hardware war. If Qualcomm dominates the low-power handheld space, SteamOS runs on it. If Intel or AMD pull off an x86 efficiency miracle, SteamOS runs on it. And if NVIDIA Spark superchips completely take over the high-end laptop and desktop market, Valve's FEX integration makes sure that your entire legacy Steam library moves over to that hardware seamlessly. So this Silicon Rebellion isn't about forcing you to abandon your current gaming rig today. It is giving you absolute freedom. It means that the next time you shop for a gaming device, you can prioritize what you want, like battery life, thinness, or thermals, without ever worrying about losing access to the games you love. The x86 monopoly is cracking, and the future of PC gaming is officially architecture free.